Hello, welcome to TransByDef. My name is Morgan Fay, and this week's topic is things you can do to help make going full-time easier. Now, before we get into that, let's take a step back and make sure that going full-time is actually something you want to do. For me, it was never an option. It was always something that was the course I wanted to take. But there's a lot of us that are not going to be a trans woman or a trans man, but something in between, non-binary, gender fluid, agender. Now, for me, and I think for a lot of people who are born with the male phenotype, it's almost like you got to do one way or the other. In between is not very accepted. So there's almost kind of some pressure to transition all the way across. But if that's not what is going to make you happy, then you need to transition to where you're going to be happy, who you are. For me, that's going all the way across the field to a trans woman. So now, what you can do to help make that easier, it's kind of the Band-Aid scenario. You've either got a choice of either doing it in small steps or doing it all at once. My original plan was that I was going to be on hormones for about 6 months, and I was going to have electrolysis for about the same amount of time, and I would kind of go on vacation for a short bit around my birthday and come back completely transformed. That's not what occurred, and it's probably worked out better for me that that didn't happen. In the beginning, the first things I started doing was diet. That was one of the big ones. Before transition, I started at 230 pounds. At my lowest point, I got down to about 130. I've definitely put some weight back on since then, but that was kind of planned to help make the weight go back where I want it to be rather than where it was beforehand. So the other thing was ear piercings. This was almost my ritual into transitioning. It was something that I could do that was a permanent change, that was a definite step in the direction I wanted to take. It was, it's that ritual that all girls go through, and it was my starting point. Hair, I always had long hair. My hair is actually shorter now than I had when I was before transition. But for a lot of you out there, growing out your hair, getting a feminine haircut is going to make a huge difference. Nails, I was a nail biter beforehand, something I had to break. Learned to grow my nails out, learned to keep them long and not chew down to the nub. Eyebrows, guys have thicker eyebrows, so you're going to have to get used to either going to some place to have it fixed, or learning how to take care of them yourself with a pair of tweezers, which is definitely the more cost-efficient route. And it doesn't take too long once you know what you're doing, and once you get to the point where it's just maintenance. The first time I tweezed my eyebrows and made them thin, it made a huge difference in the perception of my face. So other than diet, nails, hair, jewelry, you'll need to look about getting a new wardrobe. One of the things to do for wardrobe is, I had an idea of who I was going to be after I transitioned, kind of knew what my personality was going to end up, and I was totally wrong. So I bought a lot of clothes that were for what I pictured myself to be, but once I started that path of self-discovery, I found out that I was a lot different than I expected. So a lot of my earlier wardrobe I won't wear anymore because it doesn't suit me, so they're more laundry day clothes. Also, if you're dieting, you're going to be buying clothes intermediate steps, until you get to the weight you want. Once hormones start kicking in, it's going to change body dispersals, so things that didn't fit before might fit in the future, and things that did fit won't be necessarily fitting so well. The other thing to do is decide if you're going to do small steps or big steps. Like I said, I planned on doing a big change, a big reveal. That didn't happen, so I can't really give you an idea of what to do to prepare for that, other than what I had planned, which was electrolysis, HRT, having a wardrobe picked out, and kind of going away for a bit on a vacation and coming back with a complete change. But what happened for me was that I did in small steps, baby steps. I actually went into kind of a goth look for about 2 months. During that time, I grew my hair out in a more feminine fashion. grew my nails, started painting them. My wardrobe got definitely not necessarily more feminine, but less masculine. Um, though it was fairly monotone, it was still in the direction I wanted to go. And I would still draw some looks every now and then, but there weren't looks in the direction of what I was self conscious about at the time. So they were far easier to handle. You know, it was kind of almost an inside joke. Yeah, yeah, you have no idea actually what you're looking at. So when I finally did come out, even though I had pretty much already went full time, everyone was still surprised because it happened so slow, and over the course of about 2 to 3 months that they just didn't see it, what was unfolding before their eyes. And when I did do the reveal, it was just another small step, and it was a lot easier to accept. It wasn't a shock to the system. So that's what I would recommend, is actually doing it small steps, allowing people around you to adjust to you, and getting yourself also the ability to adjust to yourself and who you're going to become. Electrolysis is, or any other form of hair removal is going to be absolutely critical, especially if you've got a dark beard shadow. So that's something that you're definitely going to need to start working on about the same time you start on HRT. I think HRT is critical. If you identify as female and you're going to be a trans woman, then HRT, in my opinion, is not very optional. Coming from looking at the other side of it before transition, I wasn't sure how much HRT would cause an effect. I knew that there'd be some physical transformations, but the biggest effect is where it affects you here and here. It definitely gives you a piece about yourself that I was always looking for and always had, glimpses of, but was never able to grasp before. It frees you from that male sexuality, which for me was very foreign. It was almost like an alien possessing my brain for a short period of time, and I've described it before as that. So getting rid of that hormonal effect on my personality, which wasn't cohesive, didn't work with my personality, has actually been the biggest change for HRT. And I absolutely recommend that, if you're going to transition and you identify as female, then HRT is critical. Electrolysis, everything else is a physical aspect, but HRT can help you get to feeling where you want to feel. And that's really what this is all about. It's about becoming a whole person. All the external stuff is pretty much to get other people to recognize who we are, who we've always been. So other than that, you definitely want to take care of your hygiene, probably like you haven't before. I know for myself, I wasn't too critical about my appearance. It wasn't really my body, so I really didn't care so much. So that's changed quite a bit. And you're going to have to get used to a totally new body chemistry once you're on HRTs. A lot of the things you used before, they just won't work, and you won't want to use them. So you're going to be looking for new deodorants, new shampoos, new conditioners, and all this helps build up your self-identity. And that self-identity gives you the most critical aspect you need in order to go full-time and to make it through transition, and that is your confidence. Without a doubt, the most important quality that you need is confidence in order to pass. Because even if you don't pass, but you're confident, people are going to be more inclined to accept you, and people who would normally have a negative feelings about you are going to feel on the outs, and they won't be able to voice that as easily when you've got more acceptance around you. That's not to say it's not going to happen, but it definitely mitigates what kind of negative experiences you're going to find, and it also makes you stronger when you have those to be able to deal with it. So confidence is key. Everything else you'll figure out, but you need to go into it with an iron will. You need to go in with it with a you know, this is who I am. No apologies, kind of mindset. But saying that, you also need to go in with a bit of humility and humor, because if you're too serious and you're too sensitive, people are not going to want to associate with you. And if they don't do that, they're never going to get to know you, and any opinions that they might have are never going to change. So, unfortunately, since we are probably going to be the only trans people that most people will ever know, you're going to be cast in the role of educator. And it's kind of an unfair task, but at the same hand, it's what we need to do. And if we don't educate, then who's going to do it for us? Because we're the only people that are really the authority to speak for ourselves. No one else is going to truly get it. So it needs to come from us. And we are the ones that, unfortunately, at this time, we have to be a little bit more open, and we have to be a little bit more willing to share details that most people wouldn't want to. But I think it's critical in gaining an awareness. You know, the saying is, you know, what people fear, you know, what people don't understand, they fear or they want to destroy. Well, the way you beat that is you help them understand. And people are a lot more curious. People are a lot more open-minded than I expected. And I think, hopefully, you'll find that to be your case. Obviously, that's not how it is in every circumstance, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm hoping that a lot of you will be too. But the key to going full-time is being ready, because without being ready, you're not going to be confident. Whether you do it with a great reveal or whether you do it in baby steps, it's got to be something that is going to feel comfortable for you. There's going to be an imperative. You know, you've lived your life in a wrong role for so long that you're going to have a drive in order to do everything as quickly as possible. That was the reason that I couldn't wait 6 months to do my reveal. I had to do it right away. I had no patience. And you just have to temper that drive with a bit of planning and a bit of caution, but don't temper it so much that you lose your optimism. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about and touch upon, and that's voice. Voice is another critical element to transitioning, to passing, to going full-time. It's still the thing that I have the most difficult with. I have pretty much 3 voices that I use. I still have my old voice, which I can pull out every now and then if the situation calls for it, and usually that's just as a demonstration of how far I've come along. I have this voice, which is a comfortable register and something I can continue talking in for a long time, but it's not exactly where I want it to be. And then I have another voice which is much higher, and this is what I use out in public, but my voice tires at this register, so I can't use it for very long. So voice is something you need to start working on pretty much as soon as you decide to transition. It's a critical element and something that takes years to get to make any kind of progress on. And don't get dismayed by the slow rate of progress, because it is slow. It's a very slow process. A lot of people go to voice coaches. I haven't been able to yet, but I can definitely see how that could be a big advantage for those that can manage to do so. So you need to start working on your voice immediately, even before you go full time. As soon as you make the decision to transition, start singing at higher register. Really start working that voice, so that, you know, in a few years down the road, when your appearance is more passable and you're feeling more confident, that it's not your voice which is going to be giving you away. So this is Morgan Fay, and I hope to see you next week on next week's topic. Have a good day.